Sing Talk. This is Sing Talk Radio.
How many have you done?
We on? All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sing Talk.
Yay.
We are very happy and honored that we have the father and daughter super team duo here. So those of you who know...
That's you, right.
That's us. This is Joe and Shannon. No. So Dorian and Naona Holly, two very... incredibly talented singers, vocal coaches, touring artists.
Go on.
Vocal contractors,
Supermodels.
GQ models. Yeah.
See, this is the hard part.
Right.
But anyway, I'd also like to welcome Joe, our
And then
co-host,
these
back.
guys.
Yeah,
And my wife Shannon, who left the kitchen area and came here.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
The
pretty
kitchen.
sexist,
The
wasn't it?
kitchen,
Yeah.
anyway. I can't
Wow.
even imagine you
I
inside of
don't.
the kitchen.
I know. I don't ever go. That's the funny part.
No,
about
no,
it.
she
thought that
doesn't
stuff
do
is-
anything
yeah.
in the kitchen. What she does
I
is
walk
feed the
through it.
dogs and look at the fridge like, I wish I could eat. And
Yeah, we're doing a
we're
cleanse
doing a
right
cleanse,
now.
and so we're both.
Well, I heard you gave up. I don't know why we're talking about this. Sorry, but I heard you gave up.
I
Already.
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
On
Well, but
cleanse.
I'm only eating. Like I've literally eaten like a goat today. I had like a handful of nuts.
Wait, did you give up certain foods or did you give up on your diet?
She gave up
All
on
of
this.
it.
We've been doing this for. This would be the fourth day.
Is that Green Book?
It's a green. It's the green book.
Well, look, it's a white guy holding it. There he is. Yeah.
Ah, you
I
know.
don't know if I should be in on this. Anyway. Anyway, thanks for being here today, and thank you for
Thank you
taking
for
the time.
having
And
us.
we're
Dave,
gonna
thank you for having us.
try and pry open your brains and learn about what you guys know. So, I just want to take a moment, and let you two sort of introduce yourselves a little deeperly,
Yeah.
and then we'll
New
go
words.
into some other things. But Naona.
Yes. So how far back am I going in the introduction?
You were born in a small town.
Actually,
Right.
maybe Dorian should introduce you.
Ooh.
That sounds like a really
Switch
good
it
idea.
up.
Okay.
And
Your
yourself.
mic sounds.
So she is.
Tinny.
This is my my first princess, my firstborn, Naona, who, much to my not dismay is not the right word. Anyway, she scared me by deciding, as far as I knew, at about 15 years old to start singing. And like most people, she'd kind of dabbled in music lessons and sang a little bit with me and her auntie and uncle in our church groups, our praise and worship team. And then she just decided that she was going to get serious about it. And the first time I really heard her sing, I mean, I knew she had it in the ear for harmony. I knew she had, kind of the voice gene. But the first time I heard her really sing, she sang Blue Skies by Ella Fitzgerald. And if you know that classic jazz piece,
Joe, why don't
there's
you
like
sing it for
about
us?
that's
I actually strangely do know that.
he doesn't even know who Ella is. No, there's like a 62 bar solo in it,
Wow.
a 62 bar scat in it. And she sang that while I was sitting at her desk in her room at the only computer in the house, and almost knocked me out of my chair. So that's where the singing really began for me. It was very serious because I never heard her practice it. I didn't hear her learning it. I
Wow.
didn't hear her.
It just.
I didn't think that singing was going to be a thing for her. And from there, she dug in. So anyway, my darling, sweet daughter,
boy.
Naona, will tell you about her very.
Can I before we go on to that, did you feel like discouraging that or encouraging that? Like with your history of music, did you feel like it's a great thing or a holy crap, I want her to be a doctor instead of going down this road? Because of all your experience.
Well, I didn't have a particular thing that I would have chosen for her, but it's really scared me that she was choosing this because, as you guys well know, it's hard to do this. It's hard to be a musician. It's hard to earn a living as a musician. And but at the same time, when I hear her sing, it makes me cry because her voice is so beautiful. Because she has devoted herself to learning how to do it right, and also it's difficult for kids to follow in their parents' footsteps when their parents have done been reasonably successful in that. It's just it's a heavy burden to put on them. But I didn't discourage her. I didn't encourage her.
Did you
either.
coach her?
I didn't coach her because all of my daughters. I got 3 girls.
We can't do it
No?
together.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
Little dynamic there.
Don't tell me what to do!
The one thing that my
You're
three-
not my. Oh wait.
Oh, wait, you are.
yeah, right. The one thing my 3 daughters have in common is that you can't tell them anything. And the only way I can
Wonder where they got that.
Right.
not from me,
Anywho.
not from their dad. The only way that I could help them is by waiting for them to ask for help. And then as soon as you open your mouth, they got it. As soon as you start to say, they got it. So no, I didn't. I helped if she asked for help. I coached when her mom made me coach her. You know, okay, let's put Naona on video and critique it. But I could not say do this or do that.
Yeah.
And I still can't.
Still can't.
Wow.
Yeah. Sensing that.
Makes a great artist.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, you got to let kids find their way, and
I think especially with creativity, they gotta find their own way. I mean,
Yeah.
got to make their own mistakes. They got to
Yeah.
try stuff, and they can't. And it's so easy to hurt somebody and discourage somebody. It's so easy.
it's
so
amazing
easy
the
to
scars
say.
that people come in and say, "Well, my kindergarten teacher told me I couldn't sing," and like,
Wow.
that's
And
meaningless.
they're done.
Like
They're
that's
Wow.
meaningless. Somebody told you at 5.
Right.
But it stays with you.
Man.
It just
Another
stays
thing.
with you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even
Yeah.
even if somebody plays a song and go, "What do you think?" The only thing you can do is say, "Oh, that's great. That's beautiful." What do you think? You know, and that's the way I am.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it hurts too much. You
Such a vulnerable
internalize it.
process, though.
There.
Until they ask you for money to put the album out, then you're like,
Right.
about those songs. Remember how I told you I love them?
Right.
They're horrible.
I've liked them to $100.
Right.
But all right, Naona, now
wait,
fill us in.
Please. Put some mics around here.
How much is it?
You just say
$10,000.
You just say you can edit this, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
Your mic sounds like it's clipping. a
Well,
little bit.
it's
Is it?
because I just
'Cause you
spit water all
over
in
it.
it.
I'm gonna turn down the headphones just because we're not using them, and I'm just.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay.
Oh, good
now
job,
we're
Cody.
cooking with
Creative, yes. Technical, no.
Yeah.
You're so getting beat up, Cody, later.
So now let's talk more about me.
Let's talk to me.
What else?
Anyway, back to you.
Am I picking up where you left off?
So you're
I don't
15.
know.
Well, this,
15. I went to
Yeah,
so yeah. There wasn't discouragement. I think there was encouragement. That sounds about right. In terms of the time that I started to pick up a passion for music. So I decided to try and audition for a high school in LA, which is still here. It was formerly known as the LA County High School for the Arts, now called Arts High, I believe.
Really? They changed the name?
Is that like
I
the
didn't know that.
fame school?
Very similar to
Yeah.
Fame, yeah.
Which
so,
I really wanted to be a part of.
Right. I mean, it was amazing. It's much like the movie. All of the arts represented: dance, theater, visual art, music. I think that was it. So we'd spend like the first half of the day doing academics, and then the last half doing music. So I was learning jazz and in the gospel choir and music theater.
Fun.
And
What do you like the best, by the way?
in terms of genres?
Yeah, because
Jazz.
jazz.
Math.
Oh, jazz.
Yeah,
okay.
right. No. Jazz is definitely where my devotion and my passion lies. I don't know, just like everything about it, the lyrics, the music, it speaks to me. And started listening to it so young. And then decided to keep going. Went to college where I could major in jazz studies, which I found to be amazing. And actually, I when you were asking about, my parents being okay with this, there was one stipulation when I decided to go to college. I wanted to go to a conservatory at first, Berkeley. A lot of my friends went there. And I don't know if this was my mom or you, but the one stipulation was I had to go to a university. I could study music as long as I did it there. In the event that I changed my mind, I was already in a place where I could focus on something else.
which is a conversation I don't even know anything about.
Oh, really? That must have been my mom.
Oh, it was absolutely
Conservatory
your
was
mom.
out of the question. So I went to Western Michigan University, studied jazz there, ended up studying Spanish before I left, and then came back to LA and started trying to make a career out of this thing.
I wonder if your mother did that when I wasn't around on
Maybe
purpose.
so. Yeah, 'cause that was definitely.
Let's call her.
We had fights about it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, because I really wanted to go to Berkeley, and I know a lot of friends that went that were, very pleased with what they gained there. Probably a little bit more music focused than Western, where I ended up going, but I'm so happy.
And Berkeley's not a 4-year university?
Well, it's a conservatory. I don't know how many years it is, but
You
it's
can do
it's
it. You
just
can do it in less than
all
4.
music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all music.
So you couldn't just go, I want to switch to.
What I loved about
Right.
Yeah.
what I loved about
Aviation.
Western Michigan though was the focus on jazz. It was like laser beam focus on jazz, which
Oh,
was,
yeah.
I think was really really special.
No, it was a great program.
And I thought that's the reason you chose it. That's funny. I'm talking
no.
to your mother.
Now, as we've learned
Yes.
from before this started, I know nothing.
Okay.
So is it one of these things where if you learn to sing jazz, you can sing anything kind of thing deals?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
I've just proven I know nothing.
Well, I've also never bought into that. If you learn X, you can do anything.
No.
Each vertical requires really understanding, like whether it's
Yeah.
jazz, musical theater, pop,
Right.
R&B, gospel. Every one of those has its own deep.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard anybody who's done classical and crossed over to pop and it's authentic, or pop and going to classical and it's authentic.
Well, see, the thing about it is, I think that you're right, and of course, Naona is right. Also, it depends
Because
on-
she's your daughter and she would fight with you if you didn't say
Yeah.
that.
I don't think we've ever fought.
Aw.
Not that I can remember. But
We're going to make it happen today.
Right.
yeah, right.
Sing talk.
I think it depends on the person. It depends on the person's orientation, and it depends on if they're focused with the exclusion of everything else, or if they just really love music and they're specializing and they want to they're going after this lane, but they just love music. I mean, she's saying, she made sure that she found a great church with a great gospel choir while she was in Michigan. And she joined and sang there every week, pretty much. I'm a working singer, so I was touring with Michael Jackson and Rod Stewart, and you name it during that period of time. So so all sorts of different music was played in the house from day one. As a matter of fact, jazz was probably one of the things that wasn't played quite as much as everything else, because I'm always learning music, and I'm a composer as well. So I think it depends on the person and their orientation.
Yeah.
If you start off with classical music, you almost can't sing anything else. But if you start off with something else and get some classical training, or if you or whatever else it is, and if you love it all,
Right.
like for me, this is really funny. As you were talking, I remember when she was about 10 or 11, she fell in love with Reba McEntire, and she was playing that, and we bought her a couple of Reba cassettes, and she was playing that all the time. And her mom was like, she's like, "Do you think we ought to do something?"
Do we need to intervene?
I'm sick of hearing fancy 25 times.
Oh my God, Naona's like loving country music. And I'm like, leave her alone. She's loving music.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not, I don't think that she necessarily loves country music, or if she does, fine.
Right.
Which I love too.
Yeah.
But it's music, and the best country music is music and universal. The best jazz is the same. The best pop is the same. And the worst of all of these genres is right in a particular lane. It's very narrow.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say, I think one of the things that I didn't realize was going to be so beneficial to my career later on down the line was how much I loved trying to sound like other singers. So trying to mimic Reba, learning Ella Fitzgerald scat solos, things like that, prepared me for something that I wasn't even aware of, which is being able to be versatile as a singer. Now you can call me for a country gig and I can do it. You
Right.
can call me for a gospel gig and I can hang. You can call me for a jazz gig, pop gig, whatever, and I can do it. And in addition to that, I will say I had 2 very strict years of classical training when I was in college, which changed my voice completely. My voice was very small. It was very thin. It was changing from 18 to 22. And that's where I really learned how to use, for the singers, we'll get just slightly nerdy, where I learned how to use my mix, where I learned how to not potentially damage my voice by trying to belt all the time, and just like really understood placement, singing out of my mask, all of that stuff that you guys, that your listeners know. I learned that there first when I was studying classical music. So, for those that feel like training isn't necessary, I'm so for it.
You grew a lot.
That's funny. That's a similarity that we both had as children that I didn't know about. When I was a kid, I had a little green record player that was like, it would close and you could carry it. And I used to take that into the garage, and I would try to imitate Anthony Newley. I would imitate Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, just you name it, whatever it is. I could do Carol Channing, and I didn't know why I was doing it. I did it because it was fun, because I loved to do it. And fast forward, I'm on Dancing with the Stars for the first 3 seasons, where in one episode you could be doing one night I had to be James Brown, I had to be Frank Sinatra, I had to be I can't remember the other 2 people I had to be. One was a rock guy, and one was another sort of Frank Sinatra type thing. And the other singer, one of the other singers, came to me next week and gave me the best compliment I could receive. She said her dad told her, "I never heard that live recording of Frank Sinatra. Where can I get that?"
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
Nailed it.
yeah.
That
That's
phrasing,
amazing.
that's a hard, he's hard.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing about phrasing. He and Sam Cooke are like these 2 like masters of phrasing.
For sure.
It's hard. Well,
and
Luther,
it's like,
too,
and you
maybe,
can't. It's not anything that you can explain. What he did, what Frank Sinatra did, and the way he did it, you can't explain it. You just have to absorb it.
Keep doing it and doing it.
Yeah, and then at some point you understand it in your skin. You still can't explain it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get close to doing
It's
it.
really hard to reverse engineer it to then teach it. It's
Right.
so like, how is this like? 'Cause
Yeah.
you can hear it, but it's really like. And I'm spinning this a little off the side, but when students come in and their phrasing sounds like on the beat, it's theater, right? It's on the beat, and you're trying to give them a little, like, it can't be that. You've got to have some space, and even trying to explain to somebody in the pocket, like
The
it's
only way you can teach
difficult.
it,
Pocket
the only
is
way
a
you can
feel.
teach it is sit down with them and play it. I can't sit here and play it for you 300 times. I can play it for you 10 times because that's what we have time to do in an hour. And I can try to, can you see where that is? No, it's not there. No, it's not there. But the only way you can teach it is to say,
Go in your
take
garage
it,
with
go
your
do
record
it.
player, and honestly, it's
player.
Right.
that's the truth. Is you're trying to find that, and Luther's the other one. Like, the house is not a home. The phrasing on that is so hard.
Luther Vandross went to Western Michigan, by the way.
Did he?
Little
Oh,
known
really?
Fact.
Hey.
My alma
I
mater
miss
in the
him.
house. Yeah, yeah.
And I
Yeah,
pay
but
for
you're
him to go
absolutely
too.
right.
Did you?
And your mom told him to go there.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So let's slide. Let's go a little on your history. So tell it. I don't even know where you were born because I couldn't find that.
I was born in Santa Monica.
Were you really?
Yeah.
No wonder it's not on there.
Angelino. My mom and dad were both from the South, and they met here and married here. And me and my younger brother are natives. And I live 5 blocks from where I was pretty much raised.
Seriously?
Now. Same zip code I had when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a good
You've
zip
experienced enough zip codes that if you want to stay home, it's fine.
code. Yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced quite a number of zip
Areas.
codes. Yeah, all over. Matter of fact, because she was born in Long Beach, so it's all the way
All the way down there.
Yeah, yeah.
On tour, and you just happen to stop by Long Beach and have a baby and then keep the tour going.
Right.
So, was your parents, were they musicians?
My mom sung in the choir, and we went to this big, what seemed big then. It isn't really all that big, but there was a 100-voice choir at the church where we were raised, the Baptist church, where black people from all over the country who had come to L.A. Ended up at Calvary, a very upwardly mobile, working class church. The church is still there. And it's the church where I was baptized and raised, and that's where I first fell in love with music, because the choir was just it was just, my sister tells me that I could harmonize like about 3 years old, 4 years old. I would harmonize with the Lord's Prayer, but that's why I was introduced to music and fell in love with music at that church. Just a great, great choir. And matter of fact, somebody in the choir with my mom just passed away a few weeks ago. And he sang the song, one of the probably the only song I can remember that the choir used to sing. And my mom was a singer. My dad was a strange bird. He wouldn't sing or dance, and I'm sure you can understand it. He came up pre and during the civil rights movement, and he wouldn't do anything that he thought white folks expected black people to do.
Really?
So every black man could dance and sing, and he wouldn't. But he was very musical, and I believe that he's the reason that I am a writer. On Sunday mornings when we were getting ready from church, he would walk around the house waking us up, and he would make up a song. And at the end of every goofy rhyme that he made, he would go, bow, bow, da, da, bow, the sound of a guitar. And we would all do it with him. And it would be, something like, get out of the bed and hit the floor, because in 10 minutes we hit the door. Something like that. And so we would all compete trying to, with that sort of thing. And I think that's part of what made me want to write, just having that going around. I mean, because I still remember that, and it was a long, long time ago. Yeah, but always in love with music. Great music around the house.
What did your parents do for work?
My mom was a registered nurse, and my dad worked in a grocery store right on Adams and Redondo, and later on graduated to $1 million salesman insurance, selling insurance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I just got to find a rhyme for insurance.
orange.
You're gonna send him off on
Yeah, I know, but you're
mind
gonna give me like,
yeah.
and then in 45
I did,
minutes,
you just did.
I
I just see your
know,
eyes
in
go.
45 minutes, I'm
Flynn
gonna be
Florence.
Yeah. Right there,
Just
Adam
let him
Florence.
go. He's
So
gonna
as
be
you
his
start
own
showing musical ability, are they just like, I don't know, what do we do with this kid? I mean,
They, all of us kids.
sort of the freaking out the way you freaked out over it.
Yeah, not in terms of making a living. They gave us all music lessons, guitar lessons for my older brother and sister, and piano lessons for my younger brother and I. None of us practiced. I took lessons for a year and a half when my music teacher moved too far for my dad to drive and take us every Saturday. That was all the excuse I needed to quit taking piano, to my everlasting regret. But we sang in the choir. My music teacher's son was in a boys' choir, the Bob Mitchell Singing Boys. It was the choir that was started in the 30s. And the same week, I buried Michael Jackson and my mentor Bob Mitchell. The very same week they passed away. And the choir house is right over on St. Andrews and Melrose. It's still there now.
It was a full week for you.
Yeah, so it was a school. I auditioned for the school. I got in. I went there for a couple of years, and it was like Loxa, where it was 4 hours of scholastics daily, 4 hours of music from 10 to 6, Tuesday through Sunday, and that's where I learned about theory, to read music, and just singing full time.
So, I'm just thinking how you come from an insurance salesman, registered nurse, to probably one of the top
How much time
sessions.
do you
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that's such an amazing.
skip over all the other stuff that you did? Because it was a lot that you did before you began as a professional singer. So much.
Really? I mean, doing other jobs before you made a living?
Oh God, my resume outside of music is probably 10 pages long. I mean, because I didn't know that you could make a living doing this, and I didn't really think about it.
Do you
didn't
know?
anybody doing it?
Do you know it now? But
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He's cashing checks.
you have
No.
figured that out, right?
Yeah, I started making a living doing this at 29. Whereas like my dear friend Paul Jackson Jr. started at 15 doing it, making a living. So I kind of was like trying to find it trying to trying to believe I could do it, you know. So I did everything from running a hardware store to throwing newspapers out of the car, and so many things that you don't even want to know about.
Kind of do.
Those are the
Which things were illegal?
Grocery bagging, selling insurance.
All selling fire smoke alarms.
Right, there was a fireman stint. Yep.
You know, it came that close to becoming a fireman, flight attendant, box boy, working in the towel department at Saks Fifth Avenue.
The question is, why were you fired so many times? Why did all these jobs end?
The first couple of jobs I was fired from was because I was young and stupid. The rest of
Fair
the
enough.
jobs,
You just burn out.
I don't know that I got fired from them. It's just that you kind of like, I didn't get fired from that many jobs, but I just didn't go anywhere where I'm like, yeah, I'm here, I'm going to do this for 30
I'm not
years,
passionate
40
about
years.
it.
Right.
Yeah, and also trying to, at some point, you start trying to do a job that you can do while you're doing music.
Yeah.
You know, and then I finally found a job, which I was at 6 years for the longest job.
Selling this juice.
Advertising. Selling advertising with a phone. And that was
Okay.
from like 6 a.m. to 2. And I could go home and take a nap and then write songs. I
Yeah.
could go do demos for people and, you know, that sort of thing. So I did that. You know, I mean, I bought, you know, the first house that she lived in on that.
Wow.
You know, supported our family. And
But you knew that whole time that music was what your passion, or you didn't know? You
I
just
didn't
knew
know it
you
was my
liked it.
passion, but I didn't know it was gonna
It could-
that it could sustain me. I was like, maybe I can make it as a songwriter. Maybe I could sing on a couple of records. You know.
And you were in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know musicians. I just kind of had. Also, I had my own band, and so we had our own world. A
Okay.
gospel band, so that was kind of very insular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't really until I started meeting other
But,
people doing it.
29 though, that's not that old to be making a living doing this. I mean, you know, a lot of people are struggling way longer than that. It's pretty good.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, how you look at it, whether it's, you know, breaking in as an artist or whether you're being a working musician, but that's not bad.
oh,
29
I thought it was old.
I think everybody in this business feels like they're old, though, right? Oh my God, I feel so old. How old are you? 18? Like, you know, you haven't had
You're
time.
gonna be okay.
Yeah. I guess I mean compared to pretty much everybody else I know that started around 18, 17,
Right.
making a living.
Yeah, it's all
you know.
comparable and relative.
Yeah, true.
But in the big picture, that's pretty good.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel bad about it.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
It all
you've done
works out.
You know.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna let Naona talk, 'cause I'm talking too much. The thing that I like about it was when I started making a living doing it, there was no question that I was gonna be taking drugs or drinking too much, you know, lose my way.
Was not going to be.
It wasn't going to happen because I was, you know, because I had responsibility. I had a family already. I knew what it was to have to live on a certain amount of money and have a budget and save for a car. It's just, you know, it's like not like
When you
20,
start, when you start at 18.
Because when
Right.
you're 18 and you have
Mess.
people waiting on you like they do when you go on tour,
Yeah.
and then that stops. You don't know what else there is.
Right.
You know, I knew there was something else. I was like, oh, this is great. You know.
Yeah, you were
I
grateful.
came home from my first tour, going back on the phone, getting my leads out just to start selling ads, you know. And my
What was
wife,
your first tour?
Michael Jackson.
Your
Wow.
first tour, and you came home and started selling ads again.
Well, technically it was my
I
second
mean,
tour, but the first tour was.
But I'm
like-
saying you came off Michael Jackson going, I better sell some more ads.
the next morning I didn't have a, you know, that job was over.
I know,
in
but
my
still,
mind.
that's incredible. That
And
your
what were
mind
you
went
what were
there,
you
that's
doing? You
all.
were doing background or
Yeah, I was in the band.
Okay.
Well,
And before that, I was
Oh.
selling ads over the phone. So I came back. You know, I got up at 5 the next morning after the tour, went into my office, got my leads out, stack of leads like this, got my phone, and like, okay, and then at some point, you know, Carla came in and she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I said, the tour's over. We didn't, you know, we
Yeah.
have money coming from anywhere else." And she was like, "Well, you know, maybe you don't have to do this anymore." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, call some people and
maybe you get on
tell
it.
them that you sing and you just got off a tour with Michael Jackson.
yeah,
see if you can
exactly.
get some work."
Right.
That hadn't even occurred to me.
Yeah.
You know, I was
Wow.
like, oh.
Guess I could
You
leverage
know, there's some
that.
perceived value there, right?
Right.
Like there's a perception. You can
You
roll
know,
that
there's
in.
there's a lesson in there.
Look, they needed me there. That's why I was said, call them and then go, by the way, do you have insurance?
Right. Exactly. Killed two
Because
birds
I
with one
have,
stone.
Just do a little
Yeah, that's right.
dabble in
yeah.
both.
Yeah,
Right.
you both. You killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just hadn't occurred to me.
You should have been selling tour
I mean,
insurance.
what also hadn't occurred to you was even going to the audition for the Michael Jackson tour.
So
right?
that's a question, like
Well, I didn't
for
know
both
about
of
it.
you,
I didn't know
which
about
is.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean-
Well, what
I want to know what
specifically
that
is
moment
the-
it was that
right.
that you both felt like was your big break, and clearly this where she's going is yours. But I also
Right.
want to know.
Yeah. Well, what was I don't know. I'm trying to think what mine was. I guess my first big job out of college, which it took a couple years. I moved back home. Thank you. You know, rented a room, tried to save some money, tried to get out of debt. But my first tour was with Queen Latifah when she was singing. You know, she's a jack of all trades. And so she had a couple of jazz albums out. And I had been spending the time in LA networking, going to jam sessions, meeting people. So John Beasley, who's a music director, piano player here, called me for that. And that was my first tour. My first probably big tour was with Sheryl Crow, which you know, our music world is so strange and small and intertwined.
Yeah.
So Sheryl Crow, which most of us now know, used to be a background singer for Michael Jackson with him on what was the first tour? Bad tour.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like pictures of Sheryl holding me as a baby in the 80s. And then fast forward
You're on
to
tour with
however 20 years later, and actually he was doing a gig for her, right? And I think the rehearsal was at what's the space?
Right on Hollywood and
SIR.
SIR. Yeah, so I was like, oh, let me just come and hang. I'm not doing anything. This is literally how I got this job. So came, hung out, saw Sheryl after all these years. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? I went to college. I'm singing. I just went on tour with da-da-da-da-da.
Did she hold you again?
She did. She picked me up. We reenacted the picture. She put a perm
Actually would have been awesome.
Threw over her shoulder.
Right, exactly. So they had a couple rehearsals. I think, remind me, because my memory's kind of fuzzy. I think did I go to the show?
No,
And
you
then
came.
she
You
had
came
another-
to you came to the rehearsal, and she asked if you wanted
If
to
I wanted
sing,
to sing on it.
at
That's what
at
it
the
was.
the next thing, which was a Christmas show,
Right.
Home for the Holidays.
Home for the holidays,
And
yeah.
so she and I and a couple other people sang on that, and then after that show, we were
Yeah.
still on stage.
Right, when we
She
walked
just walks
off.
up to Naona and she's like, "You want to go on tour?"
Right.
And Naona
That was
goes, "No." Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that was my audition.
And
that-
what year
that
was
gig.
that? Like what? Like or kind of
Don't
year?
tell. You don't tell it.
No, I literally don't remember. 2000. What year is this?
Like I'm trying to think of what tour.
It was was it 100 Miles from Memphis?
Let's see, -3.
Divided by.
Yeah. 93.
She said 20 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember which. It was either Detours or 100 Miles from
was
Memphis.
Detours.
Detours.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I ended up touring with her for the next 5 years, I think.
Wow.
It's like 3 tours.
Wow.
So yeah, that's been.
And
that's been
did
a
you like
blessing.
it? Like, I mean, of course, there's
loved it.
amazing parts of it, but was there any
Yeah.
part of it that you're like, okay, after 5 years, like being on the bus and all that stuff? Or did you just love it all?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was a great tour. It was the perfect, I'm in my early 20s, like perfect time in my life. That tour, I was the youngest on the tour, and mostly everyone had families, and it was, like there was
It was
some
mellower
booze, but it
than-
was mellow. It wasn't
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of drugs and craziness, and so that was a good introduction for me, coming from like somewhat of a conservative kind of upbringing. And
Do you miss touring right now? I mean, do you wish you were out on the road more?
no, I don't. I
about
definitely
you,
am in a
Dorian?
place in my life where I'd love to
Do you,
transition.
do you guys like being home more now?
Well,
Yeah.
I was home. I stopped touring about 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And just
Which I mean,
started
you're still
working
out.
in LA.
Like, you're out with James Taylor right
Well,
now.
I just
so-
went out for the first time. Yeah,
Oh.
a month ago. This is my first time going on tour in 16 years.
Oh.
And it just I'm not a person who like has. What was your favorite tour? What was your favorite music or favorite artist? My favorite tour to do. I usually say I don't have favorites, but this is my favorite tour to do, and it's because the way singers are treated on this tour. It's because his format is like almost like a praise and worship thing. It's like the vocalists are the center of it, and he's the only artist that I can think of who you can tell everybody knows it's about the vocals. That's the thing we get done first. The band's never too loud. No one ever has to say anything to anyone about volume. I mean, and I toured with them in 94, 95. It was the same way then, it's the same way now. And so it's just, every musician is treated like gold on that. In that. Every person, every crew person, everybody's just treated like the best possible
That's
way.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's just the gig
Right.
is just, it's the way that I would, if I were the head guy, that's the way I would treat my, it's the way I treat my guys
The
now, even
top
though we
down
only play in LA.
attitude.
And that's how it was with Cheryl
You know.
as well, and I think that makes a difference. And you really feel like you matter to
Right.
the company, to
Yep.
the entire experience. We rehearsed in Cheryl's barn. We would all have dinner
Really?
around
Where?
in Nashville.
Really?
Yeah, her not the place she lives in now, but her last home. We'd all have dinner around the dining room table with crew, with the band, everybody. James, I know would like be on the same tour bus. That wasn't quite the same with Cheryl because she had kids and all of that, but it was just very much like a family. Everyone was treated well, and it makes a difference in the way that you perform and the way that you give your part.
How does it compare to your last gig? Robbie's the last gig you're out on.
Yeah, so Robbie's thing has kind of changed. I've been touring with Rob
By
now.
the way, that's Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams, yes, sorry. Which not very well known over here, but superstar
Everywhere else.
overseas. That's also a great gig. We play stadiums. We've toured all over the world, and he's now transitioning into trying to see about his North American audience. So we're doing residencies in Vegas, which have been well received, much smaller, more intimate. Slightly different experience, but also great. I wouldn't say it's
not as
intimate
Right.
as it was with Cheryl, and even for me musically with Cheryl, I got to double her a lot and sing a lot of her same lines, which was just so satisfying as a singer to be able to have that responsibility and to do that. All the gigs we do are just they're so different and special in different ways.
Do you want to be a lead singer? Like,
No.
is that no? Interesting.
don't.
Yeah. I think that's great.
I know
That's-
you're doing. Your next gig is at
Vitello.
Vitello's,
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah. Next Sunday, a couple of Sundays, the 31st. I do. Yeah, I do. And this is one thing that's really, really important is for particularly singers who make a living singing background. I think it's really important for you to. Here's an interesting phenomenon. If you get a gig touring behind somebody, especially if it's somebody well known, has really great audiences, and you start getting some of the kind of gigs that Naona and I have been blessed to have, and get to travel and sing in front of thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people, and do it for years and years and years. The applause can feel like it's for you, and your head does a thing on you, and you can miss 10, 15, 20 years of the time that you. I think that every background singer starts out wanting to be a solo artist. I don't care what they tell you.
Except for the one next to you.
Starts out.
Okay.
Starts out. And I'm not saying that she's wrong or lying.
She's not lying. She's just wrong.
Yeah, there you go. And obviously, this only applies to the people that I'm talking to. And so you get there, you get a good gig, you're making a great living, you're buying nice clothes, you buy a home, you buy a car, traveling the world, staying in the best hotels, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden you look up and you go, oh yeah, I almost cussed. I wanted to be a lead singer, and you just spent that time doing that, and then you lose the ability to do it, the will to do it, the balls to do it.
It's almost too easy to it's much easier.
So easy.
It's a good gig. You
comfortable.
get paid well.
Yeah.
You don't have all that.
What I think
You don't have all that.
it is
attention.
easier, but it feels like you're doing what you set out to do.
Yeah.
And you got the audience is there. Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about you.
Yeah. No.
They don't
Right.
care about you.
I
If
can,
you, if
I
you-
can relate to that to a certain extent. I mean, I definitely don't like some of my friends who are chasing a solo career legitimately. I don't have a desire for that, but there have definitely been times on tour where while I was out, I was contacting promoters in LA. Okay, I'm going to be in LA for this month. Can I play at the Mint? Can I play at whatever, House of Blues? And I had to book gigs on my own just to remind myself of what my own voice sounds like. So I think that's part of what you're talking about. You know, like I said, not necessarily chasing the dream as a solo artist, but you know, we are creative in our own right and have our own ideas and things to say, and it's important to take the time to hone in on that.
yeah.
So,
My only point is, if that's your goal,
yeah.
Do it now.
Don't get
Don't
stuck.
sucked in.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
because you get married, you have kids, you have responsibilities. It's like saying you're gonna.
If you even can as a touring.
Yeah, right.
touring
How do you have
musician.
time for that?
Right.
If you can what?
Get married and have kids.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But I'm just saying that the older you get, you know, it's like saying you're gonna finish college. If you don't
Right.
do it, when you get out of school, every year gets harder and harder to
To
do.
go back.
And 5 years from now, it's that much more harder. And 10 years from now, and 15 years from now, 20 years from now, it's way harder to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting though, like what the desire is for being the lead versus just like singing and using your voice and, you know, being on stage and being part of that team.
Yeah.
Is it just our ego, or is it like you have something that you want to say? More importantly, like to get up front.
Right. I don't know, because
I'd be happy
that
just, like, with
itch
a
is
triangle.
scratched for me. Even doing like I'm not above doing casual gigs, weddings, things like that. Like I do that stuff, and I'm singing Diana Ross or Beyonce. I'm that person for that audience,
Yep.
and it's enough for me.
Yeah.
To make my little check and go home. I don't have to figure
Because
out.
you're
how to-
And I love it too.
You know.
I mean, you know, you love to sing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You love to sing.
Right.
And all of us do. And
That's a tough one to answer.
Yeah,
I don't
and man, I'll do any kind of gig. You know, it's funny because I bump into a friend I haven't seen in a while, and say, hey man, you know, I had this job, I had a $150 gig, and I just knew you wouldn't take it. So I didn't call you. I was like, don't spend my money for me.
Yeah.
Let
That'd
me
be
tell
fun.
you. Let me tell you no over the phone. Call me for
Yeah.
that gig. You know.
Yeah.
And it started then, and then the next time I had
Are you
it.
sure it wasn't a heart attack?
It may have been.
Well,
I mean,
My arm has been feeling kind of stiff.
But I mean,
Cody.
well, I think when it goes along with,
Hang on.
you okay?
he's gonna
I just was
he's gonna
telling
tell Cody the fraud right now.
Yeah,
Cody, you're
yeah.
fired. But did it coincide? Because I've had those before. Joe and I did comedy for years, and so like it'd be like the person announcing your name, and you're like, I'm just gonna run, like I'm just
Wow,
fine. And then you
yeah.
get up there and you're fine, and you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
through
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
but that panic goes along with like a voice that's like, they're all gonna hate you.
But you know what's really weird is someone who suffers from panic attacks. You know what one of
Technical
the
difficulty for a
therapy things you learn when you're having in the physical act of a panic attack to get out of it is to sing. Because singing forces
I
you
didn't
to
know that.
breathe properly.
Wow.
And it tells even if you're
It
still having
calms your
even if
breathing.
you're still having the mental stuff, your body physically I learned all this in the anxiety. This is anxiety talk, everybody. But your
That's
body
really
can only do that
amazing.
for like 4 or 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And so singing will help shorten that because it forces you, and especially since you get the professional singers, to breathe correctly, and then your body gets back in. So like, how long did it
Into-
last when you were in it?
All the while I was back there, and it just started to fade as I was walking out, and had to think about what my lyrics were. You know, the other thing is it takes your singing or
Yeah.
whatever, it takes your attention away from
Yes.
that monster in your closet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you have to. I got to think about something else.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that something I say in coaching is that preparation is the antidote to fear. And one of the reasons, I don't know if this is true or not, but I say it. One of the reasons that I continue to perform is so that while I'm coaching, I know what it feels like.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I know what I'm telling a student or a kid on a show, what it feels like. I got to know what it feels like. I can't be talking theoretically about what you need to do to not be nervous or what you need to
Yeah.
do to prepare. I got to know. And I'm still learning how much I need to prepare. I think I know. If you ask
Yeah.
me, I think I give you an answer that I think is true.
It's always
And
the
it-
show that you're too confident in.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I got this,
Yeah,
and then you're like, get up on
that's-
stage and you're like, oh wait, I didn't
For
like
sure.
practice like I normally do, or I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were doing American Idol, for instance, and you were talking to the kids, did you find it easier to relate, let's say, to like a Melinda Doolittle, who used to be a background singer, and then what were you telling Sanjaya? Were you like,
My thing is I can help. I can help you. I love people, and I think most teachers have great empathy for people who perform. I can help Sanjaya. I can help Melinda. My job is to make you or Shannon or Dave feel better when you're on stage. That's my gig.
interesting?
And so
Right.
it doesn't matter if I like her better than I like you. It
Everybody
doesn't
does.
matter if he can sing better than she can. It's like I'm going to help you. I'm trying to help you.
Be better than you were.
Go. Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. You can't
Yeah.
be better
And
than
I
the other.
feel like
person.
everybody who comes to me is better when they leave. Maybe that might be my ego talking, but
I
Well,
mean,
you
you
see-
I'm
You
better. I didn't want
have
to tell you
had
this.
a host of
I'm gonna do a
winners.
45-second scat after this.
Yeah.
and if
Don't tell me anything.
And if there are a couple of coaching teams on the show, as there were, like 4 or 5 coaching teams on American Idol, I feel like our coaching team is the best, and I'm gonna beat your ass. You know what I mean?
So
'Cause
you're
my kids gotta
competitive
be-
too.
Oh, so even in American Idol, there's like a whole backstage competition with like Bird and versus you kind of thing.
I'm sorry. What's your question?
Like, so the coaches were competitive with each other.
I don't
So,
know
like-
if it was really spoken. Was it
What's
spoken?
your question again?
If you,
No,
Just gonna let that one
that
go.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you have had a lot of winners, though. Just saying.
Oh, interesting.
just
Yeah, I
saying.
wonder if there's a whole like.
Right,
bing.
right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That is that kind
And
of.
I'm quick to congratulate, my my buddy, 2 of my buddies are on American Idol. I'm not on Idol anymore. 2 of my buddies are on it. Matt Rohde and Antonio Soul, and they both play in my band. I'm quick to go over there and say, congratulations, you guys did a great job. They're good for you.
But when the coach's last person goes, are you guys like?
Oh, you mean your guy gets eliminated,
He's the last
and then
guy,
do you
yeah.
just you have to leave too? I guess.
No.
Packing
Well, I never left the show early in the season.
Okay.
All the years I was
Wink.
on.
Just
I
saying.
never-
Like, that's
Just
congrats.
saying.
My guys were always in the finals.
Okay.
Wow.
I should say my guy. Me and Michael Orland was my partner on the
Okay.
show, who's a great
Amazing guy.
partner. And
Do you feel like they gave people to you? Like, did they just divide them up, or did they go?
when we first
gonna-
started, Bird got the girls and we got the boys, and then at some point when I was there, one of the girls wanted to come over and work with me and Michael, and then the next season they had us the first week half go to her and half go to me, and then half go the other way. And whoever wanted to stay with one or the other could, and whoever didn't care just got divided
up.
number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we both had an equal number. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you coach as well?
I do, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Not quite as much, and I haven't done any of the shows, but I sing background on The Voice. So
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
they haven't asked you to do some coaching as well.
not yet, not
Do they
yet.
know
I'm
about
very
it?
very new. I
Some
doubt it.
Talpa.
All right.
Just letting you guys know.
And I'm very new there, but one thing that I do love about it is that it is a collaborative show. You know, we meet with the contestants so many times throughout the week. So first they're choosing their songs with their celebrity coach, then they're meeting with the band alone. So our MD, Paul Merkovich, is helping them figure out their arrangement, cutting the song. Then they meet with the band and the background singers, and we can, chime in and kind of help them figure out if they want to change the arrangement up, do they like what we're doing. So it's all very collaborative when we get from choosing song to going live.
But I mean, even with just that and doing backgrounds, you don't have time to coach during the season anyway.
Not
And,
during the season, but it's only a few weeks. I mean, that's a 6
it's
week
short,
stint
but it's
at a
like
time.
4 a year.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right, exactly.
And on Idol, I when I went as a coach, and at some point, Ricky asked me if I wanted to sing on the show, if I wanted to coach, because you can't do both.
Right.
You just,
Yeah.
It's just too,
Go to the
Not
other
during
so
the
there's too much time. There's too much material to learn if you're in the band, and there's too much to do if you're a coach. So you couldn't. There's no way you could do both on either
Right.
on The Voice or on American Idol.
Right.
And I chose to coach because I I didn't, because I love teaching. I didn't think that I would, but I love. It's just, as you well know, it's so gratifying when you help somebody.
Yeah.
You can when you see them get it. Oh man,
It's really an amazing feeling.
But for me, when I started teaching, I went, all right, I'm out. Because I wanted to be a rock star. And then I started teaching and I went, I would much rather teach. I don't have that thing, that desire to be on stage.
Yeah.
I never got to the point where I was comfortable on stage. I was always nervous. And then I started teaching. It was like, this is it.
Send
That's
them
what's so
on
beautiful
stage.
about the music business, quote unquote, is that you can find where you fit, and I just love it. You know, one of the things that was surprising to me was several years ago, seeing one of the crew guys walk up to the drums or the guitar or the piano and start playing and just going, you know, or like if we're at SIR and you know, somebody that you know, because you begin to work with the same people over and over, and somebody picks up an instrument. And, you know, I'm sure you do too. I always tell people, just don't, you know, you don't have to, because you decide to not pursue being a rock star or a background singer or a guitarist in a band, you don't have to lose music altogether. You can stay connected to music if you try hard enough.
I think I have more of a love relationship with music because of stopping that.
Wow.
Because it started feeling like,
Dreadful.
yeah, you're supposed to do this, and I got to go do these gigs and rehearse, and I lost that. Oh yeah, I can't wait to do music.
I think it's really important to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
There have definitely been things that I have played with in my mind. Oh, maybe I could do this in the music industry, or maybe I can do that. And when I have those feelings of not dread that is just fear masked as dread, but literal dread. I don't want to be doing that. It's like leave that to someone else. Leave that to someone who loves giving in that way, and I'm staying in my lane.
And it's also okay to not. Sometimes you see somebody doing something, and then you choose to do it, and then you do it because you know we're always trying to figure out how to make a living, you know, a check coming.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also okay to decide not to do that thing and to feel all right about it, and not go. You know, it's like
It's not
It's
failure.
not mine.
Yeah, but it
Absolutely.
can feel like that. You can be in a space where you're. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's, you know, or somebody's doing something. I guess I need to be doing that too. You know.
I think anybody who's successful will tell you they've pivoted multiple times in their life.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because something pulls them, and you can't ignore what's pulling you.
Right.
But
It's funny,
I
I
wish
keep-
I could sometimes.
I keep
It
thinking
pulls
I should
so many.
start a blog, start a podcast, and
I know a place you could do it.
Is, well, and then I go, you know, start an interview show, and then I look at another one of my friends that started an interview show, and I'm like going, you know what, the world
Yeah, but it's
doesn't
about
need-
how
it
you have a
doesn't-
different voice. It's exactly the same as why these different artists do what they do. Oh, there's another artist? Well, that's not a good reason not to do it. It's your voice, your way of doing
Yeah.
it, your message, your way of asking questions, your way of putting out information.
Right.
Just like teachers. Like every teacher has a different way of doing it, and every way is valuable. No one teacher has it right. Or no one teacher has it all right, I should say.
Okay, this is the Dorian Holly blog. Now I'm going to ask Dave Stroud some
Right.
questions.
No, that
But,
was.
but
that
more
was-
importantly,
okay.
do you want to
But
do
that's
it?
Right.
isn't that the thing that you try and do with your students when you're working with them is to pull out their special thing?
I don't know what kind of lesson you're doing here,
Yeah, that seems inappropriate.
Yeah.
but I want to be there. What
We
is
use,
this
we use the
lesson?
please zip a special thing up
Yeah.
please.
Oh boy. I was not going there.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, something unique about
No,
them, something special. That's what makes artists artists.
Right.
That's what
Steve
makes
Martin.
great
Oh, yeah.
anything.
special purpose.
There's something unique about them, and you just keep nurturing that so it keeps coming out. But
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I did make that pivot about a year and a half ago. I did start a blog on YouTube about, you know, music and practicing, and I always get new singers calling saying, hey, let's meet for coffee, let's talk, I want to pick your brain about your process, how did you get to this point? And it was happening so often that I was like, I need to either find a resource to send people
Yeah.
to or create
Build it.
one. So it's due for some updating, but there are about, I I think about 10 videos up now. It's called The Practice Room on YouTube, and just kind of try to think of commonly
great, too.
asked
Yeah.
questions that
That's
I
great.
got. And
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I'm passionate about. Is
Are you? So it's on
empowering.
YouTube, but are you also putting out like snippets on Instagram?
Yeah, I
and
put
stuff
snippets
that
on
would-
my Instagram and
Okay.
on Facebook. And yeah, I want singers to feel empowered, to feel like they have the information that they really need when it comes to like on tours. You know, we are both part of the union SAG-AFTRA, but touring is not covered. So learning how to negotiate your own like rate, things like that, things that people don't really talk about and just assume everyone kind of knows how to do.
And that you don't find about till you get there.
Right.
Well, that's part of the reason that we do this podcast is because
Yeah.
of that. But you think about all the thousands and thousands and thousands of singers out there, and it just feels like, I don't know what we do. If I want to be
Right.
an accountant, I go to school,
Exactly.
follow the book, and then you go out and you get a job and just follow the process. You want to be an auto mechanic, here's how you learn, and then you can do
Right.
it. With singing and the music, there's no,
There's no formula.
there's no manual.
Right.
So there's no way to help people. And of course, everybody's different, so the paths are different.
Sell insurance and then go into a Michael Jackson.
Right.
Dave, weren't you listening 40 minutes ago?
Okay, I do want to circle back and ask you about how that happened, though.
How I got that Michael Jackson tour?
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like the break for you.
Yeah.
There's no short way to tell that story. Are we on a time limit?
No, we own the airwaves.
I'm gonna
Well,
try
you
to.
found out about the audition from Daryl,
Well,
right?
a few years before the audition, a guy who was in my band, we wrote some songs. We used to go to his house record on his Fostex 4-track. He got hired to play with a Motown band called Switch. James Ingram's brother was the lead singer.
Oh yeah, Philip.
Ingram.
Yeah.
Philip, he gave Philip a tape. Philip loved it. Philip called me and said, "Man, I love your voice. You're great. I'm going to keep your tape." I was like, "Oh, great, thanks." 3 years later, a guy, Kazu Matsui, was doing a record and wanted a particular kind of voice, and Philip remembered me. He tracked me down through three moves, and found me and said, "Hey, there's this audition for this," and sent me an audition. I went to audition, didn't get the gig. A guy who turned out to be my best friend was there listening to me outside, the room outside, invited me to dinner. We met, became best friends. A month before that, her mom and I were New Year's. I was like, what can I do? I'm like, I can't. What am I doing wrong? I'm not getting anywhere. She was like, well, you need to meet somebody who's in the business who can help you. So I prayed for that New Year's night, 1986 New Year's. Next month it happened. I met Daryl. Daryl and Philip became my friends. They started getting me work. Daryl started calling me for work. 6 months later, he calls me for, you want to audition for Michael Jackson? I just read about that audition in the LA Times. Michael Jackson's going on tour for a year. I go, I can't go, man. Because she was just born. She was 1. I got a
Always
daughter. I
holding
can't.
people
In my
back.
mind,
Right.
in my mind, I'm leaving for a year, going on tour. If I get the gig, I got to leave for a year. And he goes, oh, okay. We hang up the phone. I put down the phone. I turn around, and her mom is looking at me like,
Go.
You just asked for this, and it was
Yeah.
handed to you, and you went.
she's like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? She's like, maybe you aren't leaving for a year. Maybe you're leaving for a month at a time, or maybe it's enough money that the family can go. So yeah, maybe you're right. I called him back. I was like, you haven't found anybody? All right. So we auditioned. The next day we go to his house, me and Sheryl Crow and Kevin Dorsey and Daryl Finnessy. We get in my car, get in my Jeep. We go to a record store and buy some Michael Jackson records. We learn these songs all day for about 4.5 hours. We work on a few MJ songs.
Now this wasn't the actual, like the directions for the audition, right? That was just a choice you guys made.
Yeah, well, I'm cutting to the chase. But this may be important. What they were doing is they put the audition out. They had 400 people in LA, 400 singers come out for the audition. People would send in pictures and a resume, and they would call you in. Okay, your audition date is Tuesday at 2, and they would put people together 4 at a time, put them in a room for 15 minutes to learn MJ song, videotape them, and send it to Michael. They weren't finding people. So Daryl had already had an audition in this sort of situation, and through his own finagling, he wrangled another audition, and under the guise of, let me bring in my group, you know. And so I believe that a number of people who auditioned could have got that gig had they been given the kind of time that you need to audition for something like that. You can't just put people who don't know each other together for 15 minutes and
Have 'em
to
harmonize and-
nail a
Something
Michael Jackson
that
audition.
special. Yeah.
So we worked long and hard. Had an a cappella tune. We had Rock With You. We had Jukebox Saturday Night. Do you know that song?
Mm-mm.
Mopping up soda pop Rickies to our hearts delight. I mean, it's like 4-part tight. All Andrew's sisters kind of
barbershop,
thing. Yeah. So we had the audition at 6 that evening, and at midnight they called us and we got the gig. In Michael Jackson's band. I worked for Michael for about 26 years, 27
Wow.
years. All of his solo tours.
What was the first tour? Was it
Bad.
Bad was the first
Bad
tour.
his first solo tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been
I
wild.
was blessed to do all of his solo tours after he and his brothers. Yeah. And as a consequence, there were some people who were friends now, but who were just like hating my guts because I wasn't in the business. Nobody knew who I was. How do I come out of nowhere? Cheryl was pretty much a demo singer around town. Daryl, people knew Daryl. They knew Kevin, but they really didn't know me and barely knew Cheryl. But it was just like a lot of people. That was their first real gig.
It's like going from 0 to 1,000.
Yeah.
And so, did
Crazy
you go on
times.
did the family go on the road? What
Yeah,
happened?
how'd you work that? Oh, the family was on the road the whole time.
No, not the whole time.
Oh, just parts of
Yeah,
it,
they
yeah.
come out and
And was it a
sing.
full
Good
year?
amount of time.
It was over a year.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Tour was 14 months long.
And then you did the,
Rod Stewart next,
yeah.
and then I did the
Dangerous.
whichever came next, Dangerous History Tour, the second album.
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah. History was after that, and
I mean, those tours, the thing about those tours is, it's a little bit like Robbie Williams, right? Those are those, you
Cream
just,
of the crop.
I
well,
mean,
not just the cream of the crop, but the massive amount of production, the massive amount of everybody has that machine. Everybody's got to be on
you go
it.
to see a show now, and you can see Michael Jackson in it. You
Yeah.
can see what he
Right.
created. In
Yep.
It,
Yeah.
whether it's Janet or Usher. Or
Oh, I mean, you can listen to
name it.
Thriller, and that doesn't sound like an '80s album. That sounds timeless. It
Yeah.
just sounds like a.
She sent me a text yesterday, and she was like, "I'm working out to the Bad album now. I highly recommend it." I sent her a text back. Been there, done that.
It's working for me.
For a year plus.
Right. Actually, kind of cool moment for me on tour with Robbie Williams. We played in Budapest at the same venue where Michael. They recorded.
Yeah.
The DVD. It was like the largest audience ever in history, and then ours was the second largest. So it was cool to kind of be on the same stage, like
Totally.
looking out at this massive.
Wow.
Of
Which is such an
people.
amazing reason I wanted to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Father, daughter, at this level.
Yeah.
You guys are unicorns.
Yeah.
You guys know that.
And Budapest was like 150,000 people, and there were like 300,000 people outside.
That's
of
amazing.
Yeah.
And they
Wow.
broke the barrier.
And only 6 bathrooms, which is really
Yeah.
awkward.
Right.
But
The
150,000? Nobody does
Not
150,000.
anymore.
Like, that's
And it
just.
shocked me to find out, because I didn't know who Robbie Williams was. It shocked me to find out that
Neither did I.
he gets those kind of numbers.
Really, you
Yeah.
didn't?
He does those.
No. We have family in England, and I actually. So when I got the call for the gig, before I said yes, I tried to look him up and saw like, oh, where his fan base is. So I called our family in England and said, I got a call for this gig. Should I take it? And how
Do you
much
know a guy
money
named
should I ask
Robert?
For? Right. Have you heard of
Robert,
this? Mom, and
yeah.
they're like, absolutely, take it. Ask for the max. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. mean,
But
he's like-
yeah,
he's-
I wasn't familiar with him.
Did he
at
tell you
all.
about when he used to live here?
No.
Did you guys ever discuss that?
I mean, I've been to the house now. I mean, he
The one I
lives
got
here now. I don't know if he was here and left and came back. I know they've lived all over the place.
I only know this secondhand, but he used to be able to walk around. Nobody knew who he was.
Right?
or-
Yeah,
it
I'm
was-
sure.
it
I'm
was so
sure
comfortable
even
for
still
him.
now.
I'm sure he
which
wasn't
is-
used to.
Right.
Yeah, there's probably mixed feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
I can go to Ralph's, but
I have to
But
go to
do I
Ralph's.
Nobody
Right.
knows me at Ralph's.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And some people put a lot of stock in them being known,
Yeah.
well, that was okay. So there's 2 more things I want to touch on. One is because this is a passion project of mine, and I'll go further with it later. But the effects of fame on the brain, and you guys are firsthand witnessing people who go through that, and the effects of fame, and the drug that fame is, and how it messes you up.
Yeah.
But curious about when you touch fame at the level you guys do. Have you ever felt that? Like, whoa, wait a second, I got to be careful here. I can feel that sinking in.
That's for Joe and I, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you,
You guys know me. And
it's really tough walking around.
It's hard to get into Ralph's.
Ralph's, man.
Well, they
Ralph's
always,
is a struggle.
they always think I'm Jabba the Hutt, and so
The velvet rope at Ralph's is really
really hard.
Yeah. No, I just mean the effects of fame are so
Yeah.
detrimental. Nobody
Can
does
be.
well on fame.
No,
I mean, it's a really
It's
bad
just not good.
drug.
It's not good for you. It's not good for you.
I don't think it's normal.
Ego is, I mean, there's a reason why the Bible talks so much about selflessness because it's just easy to believe that you are that thing that you create in somebody's mind, and you can. And we see its effect. Prince is gone. Michael's gone. Whitney's gone. There's no way you could have convinced me that they'd be gone before they were 60 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's no way you could have convinced me that Prince would be gone
Right.
as pristine as a life as he seemed to live.
To be living.
You couldn't have meat on his premises. You came to work for Prince. You came to work in the studio, dance. There's not gonna be any meat here. Just no way. And I think everybody understands that it's because of how you're like I can't. If my behavior is out of control, she's gonna say something to me. My brother's gonna say something. My sister's gonna call me.
Family.
But
That's
you
a
can't-
grounded family. Because fame is contagious.
Yeah, sure.
So you see
sure.
those people around that are supposed to be the gatekeepers and keeping things tight, and all of a sudden they're high on fame.
That's exactly
Right.
what I mean. You got something to lose.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's
Well,
my
also,
question: Is it
just to
manageable?
interrupt you. Just to interrupt you before, because what it also becomes, I'm sure, difficult is like, how do you say no to someone who just bought you a house?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
But
Especially
okay.
if you have the kind of relationship where the house is conditional.
Yeah.
And most of those relationships
it
are.
is. Yeah.
Or you feel like it is, so you don't say anything.
Yeah, maybe
it's
because you have something to lose now.
Right.
My sister doesn't have anything to lose by telling me, you know what, we need to
Snap
pray.
it up.
We need to pray right now.
Yeah.
She often calls me. I'm getting ready to go out on tour, and she would call me. All right, come on, let's pray together. You know what I mean? But the people who need that the most don't have it.
She's praying for
I
a
know.
house, but yeah.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah.
please make enough
Dear
money to
Dorian.
buy
Yeah.
Do you think it's manageable? Is there? So I think about how Music Care has put together a real support system for, substance and things, and whether substance or financial problems or whatever. Why aren't we managing and helping people who are suffering from fame?
This is the reason it isn't manageable. Because those things are after the fact. Those things are for people who lose everything. And then, okay, well, here's
They
some
hit
help.
rock bottom.
Here's some help for you. But before that happens, when you're famous, when you are on top of the world, nobody's going to tell you.
No one's feeling
Well,
sorry for you
what
either.
about
They're-
some sort of education that happens for families as this kid is going through? Is it possible?
I don't know.
That's not.
I don't know. It's just so tough. I mean, I do think having, if you can have people around you that you honestly trust and that will take care of you and it isn't a conditional relationship, that it sounds impossible. I don't know.
It's just not going to happen. Because when you're on the rise, and the higher you get, the more people say yes.
And I feel like we kind of need, like Michael Jackson needed to be famous in order for him to give us what
Without
he
a
did.
doubt,
Without
fame
it,
is necessary to make a living in this business.
Right.
I mean, even doing gigs, doing the gig over in the Valley, you need some level of fame
and ego
to have
yeah.
that. Well, maybe not ego, but
Well,
fame enough that people go, "Oh, I want to go see Dorian's show." Right.
You mean the one at
Necessary
Patello.
evil.
the one at Vitello's on the 31st?
Yeah.
like that one.
That
But the-
show.
Yeah, we do
but
need
the-
that.
But the thing is that, I mean, just look at MJ. They every tour, they had a budget. They knew he was going to go over budget. They had a number that they told him was the cap, and then they had a number that
was
okay,
real.
we're going to let the real number, which was
Yeah.
higher, and it just always went above that. When the last tour that we actually did, lost $1 million every show. They built 3 stages.
Wow.
It was somebody's idea to build 3 stages for that show.
Which show?
I think it was the History Tour. I may be wrong, but they had 3 stages.
Was
They had a-
losing $1 million a show?
Because and it's because of the excesses. Because it just I need this. I need I need that. I need a tank. I need it. And you think I'm joking? No, I need a tank to come on stage. I need this. I need that. It's always yes because it's Michael.
Yeah.
You know. And so when you go to the people at the very top and all they do is say yes, you think that your background singer is not going to say yes. You think that your cousin,
No, I mean,
who's
I
in charge of
know.
merchandise is not going to say yes.
I know, but I've watched. I've been in the position of watching these young singers that I've worked with come up and become super famous, and I've just I watched them like Justin, for example, Justin Bieber when he was 12, 13, 14, like this sweet, super sweet kid, and I still think that's part of him.
Mm-hmm.
But the fame, and this came to me by being at the AMAs or whatever, watching artists go from that end of the red carpet to that end of the red carpet, and it's a different person. I mean, they go from, okay, that's a reasonable person, to getting all that adoration for 25 feet, and they are completely high by the time they get to the other side.
As you were saying that, in my head I'm thinking, fame is a drug.
It is. And so I've
And
done a
it's-
little
it's
research.
part of the reason why some people get in to begin with.
Totally.
I mean, look at the Insta follower, Insta.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
whatever.
other thing now. It's
Instagram.
going down
Yeah.
to fame
I
is
sound
like,
like 180.
fame is 20 people liking my
Right.
whatever. But
20.
well,
Wow.
but it depends on who you are.
Awkward.
Standard.
Okay, Grandpa, 20.
No, I'm actually saying that it's relative. There are people
Right.
that get the same high
Yeah.
out of 20 likes.
You, for
So
example.
the problem is anybody anywhere now thinks they can be
That they can
famous.
be famous, yeah.
And what it means to them is relative, but it does the same thing to them. And so I did a little research, and I still want to do more, but the effects on the brain are same as cocaine.
Yeah.
So it looks just like coke. And it burns off the dopamine receptors, and it does all this, which is why they get depressed, because
Right.
now you need something
come off a
more
tour,
to
yeah.
give you that
Bad high.
dopamine
You go to
rush.
substances and
Yeah.
Look
it's
it
a
up,
vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think that there's something that should be done, the industry needs to get behind.
Well, I
Dorian, do it.
I think,
I
yeah.
think Dorian needs to start something.
What would you do?
I don't know. I just know it's a problem.
Well,
and
you're
we
doing
need to
it
start-
right.
We
You're a
had this.
successful singer, artist, musician that has worked
Yeah,
with all these
somebody
amazing
can-
people, and you've had this great career, and you've had a family, and you've stayed.
Well, what's funny is that James Taylor. I mean,
James
you know,
Taylor's a
there's
great
examples.
example.
He and I are walking. Yeah, he and I are walking from the dressing room to catering, and a guy who was clearly a maintenance guy. This was hilarious. He recognizes me,
Wow.
from the "This Is It" documentary.
Yeah.
He stops. He's kind of. You can tell that he doesn't know if it's okay to stop me and say hello, but he kind of. I look at him, and so we stop and talk. But I'm kind of like, all right, I want to walk James into
Yeah.
the catering room. James stays there and starts engaging the guy and talking to the guy.
Oh.
And it was just like, and we ended up talking to the guy for 10 minutes. He does that with everyone.
Yeah.
That,
He's just a genuine.
Yeah, he's just a beautiful.
I'm so glad to
human
hear that because
being.
that's how. I mean,
He's just as he
fan.
seems to be.
Yeah.
Whatever you think
Yeah.
he might be because of his music and his persona, he's that.
Yeah. And
See,
his
there
voice
are
has stayed.
examples of people who have navigated this correctly. Like when we first started addressing substance abuse, we could have thrown up our hands and went, we don't know, it's just too big for us. But we didn't. We dug in and found out there are ways to help manage it and help people survive through it. And I just think the same thing. We're at this real precipice of fame at a degree that we've never seen before. And I think as a social mission, we should start thinking about how do we help people manage fame.
Right.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, that it's not worthwhile. I mean, it's certainly worthwhile.
It's like sitting someone down and being like,
lofty.
all right, I don't know how to break this to you, but you're going to make a ton of money.
Right.
People are going to love you.
Right.
See,
People are
problem
going to
is-
give you things.
The problem is it's already got you. It's got you by the time you start getting. By the time it looks like you're where you just said the person is. Okay, it looks like by the time that person is there,
It's too late.
It's too late to do anything about it because because the rest of the world takes on this sycophantic
they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Just everybody just, you're great.
Yeah.
Yes, of course you can. Yeah, you're great. I want to be there. I want to be. You know, it's that everybody,
want a piece
the
of
rest
it.
of the world wants to be attached to.
Right.
They want
you.
to touch it, and then they get high off of it.
Yeah,
They
and
want a
you know,
selfie with
and
it.
you get and the high that you get from being just in the same
Doing this podcast.
geographical space as a person that is this. It's like
It's
you just
such
you,
a
you,
weird
you see
thing,
that all the
though.
time. You just look at everybody else that's like standing there while Justin Bieber's there, and everybody just turns into an alien.
Yeah.
They're
screaming.
They're
That's
getting
so weird
high,
to me.
and they walk
Screaming.
away high as a kite because
Right.
they were in the same space, which is the reason families
standing
do.
next to Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
What did that
It's
do
almost
for
as
you?
if they have something to do with it.
Right.
Right.
But it doesn't
Right.
matter because then they can go and share that, which gets them high again. Anyway, it's
So bizarre.
it's an issue that I would really like. I mean, you know, I'm bringing it up because I people like you. I just would love your thoughts on it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I fortunately, touch wood, have not struggled being on the road as long as I have with, you know, substance abuse and things like that. And I really have made an effort to stay grounded, to say no the fourth night in the row to going out, you know, to just try to like give myself some personal time. And that's also too is just my personality. Some people love that. Some people
Right.
love going out all the time. I'd rather be a recluse sometimes, and it saved me, I'm sure. You know, out of countless crazy situations, but it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy. That stuff, like you said, it is a drug. But if you can
Yeah.
find ways to
There's going to
be grounded,
I just hope that we can. It just takes research. It's going to take
Sure.
somebody with deep pockets that can go in and spend some time researching it. But
I have a question.
yeah, go for it.
Joe.
Yeah,
Yes, Joe.
Dorian.
Were you here?
Yeah, I was here.
Oh.
Dorian, born, raised, L.A. I want advice here. March 31st, I have nothing going on.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for me? Anything I could do? I'm so bored on Sunday, March 31st.
yeah.
Let me see.
You're
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah?
actually, I do.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, the Dorian Holly Band will be playing at Vitello's
Uh-huh.
at 7 p.m. on March 31st.
Oh,
And
wow.
at Vitello's, they have a really delicious linguine and clam.
It is good
Mm.
food and
It's
a good
good.
night.
So that you
It's a
can go
good
and have
fun
dinner,
night.
you can have drinks to your heart's content.
We should
Okay.
go.
Some good singing, and
Yeah.
I may even be able to talk
If we're back in
Naona
town.
into getting up and singing.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wait.
Which is really kind of a double-edged sword because when I go, my you know, I played there for the first time over a month ago, and I said, Naona's gonna come up and sing. The audience, "Hey!"
Yeah, and
I
you're
had,
like,
I had a friend
"Oh."
on Facebook write me yesterday and say, you know, we really love to hear you sing, Dorian, but when your daughter gets up,
See, this is what
competition.
keeps you without fame brain.
Exactly. Fan brain. I like that.
yeah, that's the 31st of March at 7 Vitello's, and on you guys' website.
Yeah?
You guys are gonna link the
Sure.
Tickets.
You bet we are. Yeah, I got that
yeah,
link.
Make sure you get your tickets early.
Your
It's
flyer
not
and
the
stuff.
kind of place to just rock up and ask
No.
for tickets.
No, but the
No,
food
It'll
is there
sell
so
out.
good.
Yeah.
This
And
is
the
a
food
great
there is
place
so
to
good.
have
Such a
dinner.
great place.
It's small too, so
Dorian
you
Holly
gotta,
Band.
you gotta call and
Naona might do
I
a
think it's
surprise
only like
appearance.
50 seats.
Robbie
or something,
Williams.
Right? It's small enough.
James Taylor.
Right.
So,
Cheryl Crow
gotta get in.
Gotta get in.
Gotta get in.
Especially you gotta get me before I go back out with James Taylor.
Yep.
You know.
Maybe I want to
right.
see you with James Taylor.
No.
And I'm just gonna clap for you.
No,
But not.
Or yeah.
Just
yeah,
you.
Not expensive.
I'm
but
like,
Dorian.
Dorian! I'm like, shouting out.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
So
that.
James,
let's
wrap
wrap
up.
this up, but I do want
Sure.
one more thing out of you two,
Uh-oh.
because you guys are. I mean, you guys are one of the
Here we
few
go.
people we've interviewed that's the jack of all. I mean, background singers, arrangers, vocal coaches, all that. I want
Insurance
to
salesman.
sort of come insurance salesman. That's
Right.
awesome. Coming back around to the vocal coach side of things, because again, there's all these listeners out there that they want to know how to master their voice. They want to know how to master their art, their craft.
Mm-hmm.
A little advice from you. A little advice from you.
On how to master your craft.
Just as a coach, what are some of the things that made such a difference to those that you coach? And I know that's such a big
That's a
thing to say, but if you can
big
find
question.
a couple of nuggets,
Which
Right.
is classic Dave at the end of the podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
That's
He does
right.
it every
Be like,
time.
I'm gonna be out of here by
You
2.
gotta-
Okay.
ooh,
Let me ask
okay.
you this. Tell me your whole life story.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Your number
So
one.
things you say that have made a difference to me or to people that I've coached.
I think mostly as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound cliche, but practice. I feel like so much has changed now because of social media, and I feel old saying that, but it's true. I mean, we think that you can just go from zero to everything so fast, and it takes work. It takes dedication. It takes finding your voice. It takes warming up. I mean, I feel like singers need teachers. So find a coach. Doesn't have to be the most expensive coach in town, but find Dave.
Dave.
But
Get out of here.
Dorian also.
Dorian.
Right. But find someone to work with that can really teach you how to use your instrument.
Use discount code.
Right. Also mimicking singers that you love, singers that you don't know, listening to. I'm constantly asking my friends, especially my musician friends, what are you listening to?
Yeah.
Send me links to your Spotify playlist, like trying to discover new music, trying to emulate different voices. I feel like that's probably my one thing would be emulating, because the thing that's taken me very far in my career has been being able to be versatile. And the only way I was able to do that was by sitting in my room and practicing that one skill.
Again and again.
Again and again
10,000
and again
hours.
and again. Oh my gosh. In college, transcribing instrumental and vocal solos when I was studying jazz has been an undeniable skill. So transcribing, I mean writing it down, or even if you can't write it, learning it, memorizing it, because then you're learning things about chords that you wouldn't have necessarily heard in pop music or in music theater. So it's just like expanding your ear and your wealth of knowledge. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but really practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
First of all, there's one tool that you have to have if you're going to be a singer. You have to have something to record with which to record. Every time you practice, record yourself and listen to it. So you might have to have two phones, or you might have to have some sort of recorder and a phone. Video yourself while you're practicing so that you can see what you look like, you can see what you're doing. It's not enough to stand in front of a mirror and sing. So every time you practice, record yourself and video yourself. Those are a couple of tools that you need. I can't overemphasize how important it is to sing. Today, people want to jump over the steps that it takes just to become good.
Right.
And you have to get to a point to where you're, for me, some people come to me that shouldn't be spending money on a coach. What they should be doing is learning how to sing. And so one of the things I say to do is to get 3 lists of 10 songs. Go to somebody who you know loves music and get a list of R&B songs, 10 songs. Go to somebody who you know that loves jazz and get a list of 10 jazz songs. Go to somebody who you know that loves rock or country and get 10 of those songs. And then for the next 30 days or longer, learn every one of those 30 songs. You spend a week on each song. For the next 30 weeks, spend learning that song inside and out. Listen and learn. And the only way you're going to know if you're doing exactly what Sam Cooke is doing is by recording it when you sing it. So you play Sam Cooke, you learn Sam Cooke, you learn the song, and you try to sing it exactly like Sam Cooke. Then do the same thing with Ella, then the same thing with Frank, and the same thing with David Bowie, and then the same thing with Paul McCartney, and then the same thing with Michael Jackson. Learn those songs, sing them exactly like them, and spend the time doing that. And that's just for the next 30 weeks. So, but have an accurate assessment of where your ability is, and you can do that without spending any money.
Right.
You know,
Totally.
and so like if you spent the next year doing that, after you finish those 30 weeks, get 30 more songs and learn that. You spend a couple of, how many weeks are there in a year? 52.
52, so 7,
So-
8 months.
Yeah, so spend the next couple of years doing that. Then you'll be ready to come spend your money on me or,
Yeah.
or you know.
At Vitello's in 31st.
I'm just talking about
Oh, the coaching.
the
Oh,
private
sorry.
coaching. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
All the Vitello's
yeah,
very
but there's
first.
nothing wrong with going and seeing shows like
Oh,
that
I was
as
going to
well.
add,
I mean,
go to see as many live shows
Right.
as you can afford.
especially if they're
to see.
Vitello's on the 31st
Exactly, of March.
of
yeah.
March. Yeah. Of March.
Yeah, but that's a place to start. You know,
Right.
learn your trade.
Yeah.
And once you learn it, because the thing is that once you get really good, people are going to notice. They're going to notice if you're singing a demo, and if you're great on the demo, then they're going to refer you The other thing is that I'm sorry for talking so long. All of the jobs that I've ever gotten have come from referral. I don't have an agent. Every job that I've got over the last 40 years has come because somebody called somebody and says, I need a guy that can do this. And they said, call Dorian, here's his number. So when you go to sing the demo, if you do a great job, that guy's going to keep you. He's not only that guy or girl is going to call you again, but when somebody who's touring says, you know what, I need a girl who can sing blah, blah, blah. Man, I got this great girl. Let me give you her number. And that's how it starts.
Yeah.
That's how it started for me. It's how it started for everybody that I know. Ray Parker said, I can't do this recording session. You need to call Paul Jackson. I know he's only 16, but he can play as good as me.
Wow.
That's how it all starts.
Yep.
Right.
But also, people need to know that you're that good. So that means you have to be out there doing something. Vitello's on the 31st of March.
Showing up.
Right.
But I mean,
That's the other
seriously,
thing,
like if
is
you're
self-promotion,
you've got to
and
get out
putting
there
yourself
and
out there,
I
and
can't
going
tell you
to
how
clubs,
yeah.
performing. I mean, there's like I said, the list is
unfortunate
so
thing though with
long.
the social media now, you can do a 20-second clip and people go, oh, they can sing, and
But-
they have to go out on tour and they go, oh, they
Fortunate or
can't sing.
unfortunately, though, because I know a guy who got the lead role last year in Disney thing, and you went to see it. The Disney thing at the Disney movie that they did live on stage, Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
He sang something on, he sang a song on YouTube, and the lead guy got sick, and he said,
Suddenly
I just saw
he's
this
a
guy on
dancing
YouTube. It was
candle.
great. So it's good and bad.
Yeah, it's good and bad.
I mean, he could do it.
Yeah.
He could do the gig.
Yeah, he can do it.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Yeah.
man, could he
But that goes back to your point, which is practice, practice, practice.
Right.
Posting things
Right.
on social media doesn't mean you
Doesn't
are ready.
necessarily, but it is a way. You know,
Yeah.
it's
a way, and
definitely
it's
a
important,
resume.
too.
I tell my students and my friends to use it as a way of promoting yourself.
100%.
You can get 20 likes. And
You could get 20
you
likes.
can get 20
and you
likes
have
and,
fame
And
break.
then you could get high.
Yeah, and then you
Right.
get high. And then you get Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, it totally depends
Right.
on your perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
No, dude, you're so right.
But I would throw in as a side, if singers are thinking about picking up an instrument or learning how to sight read and wondering if that's useful in this industry, I will always say yes. So those are two skills that do not take for granted. Definitely
Right, absolutely.
learn, because it just opens your opportunities that much more.
Yep.
We don't have time for all of that.
Well, we could go on. We could go on a couple more hours here.
Right.
Maybe what we should do is just come back and have a second part 2 on this,
Yeah.
because there is the whole thing with you and what's happening with the Ricky Minor gigs and your stage wife and all the stuff that. I mean, actually, it'd be great to have her in here.
Yeah, we should.
Who's
Yeah.
your stage wife?
Jessie
Jess
Collins.
Collins.
I sing with her a lot, and I know you
They're
guys
married.
know
Yeah.
her very well. We
They're
do. We
stage
work
married.
together a lot. That's my
Jess
work
Collins
wife.
and
Do you remember
Storm.
we did with Jess and Storm?
Oh,
nice.
yes. You guys
But
are
there's,
married? Interesting.
but there's still so much to mine out of you guys on the coaching
much.
side, and
Yeah.
it's great to know your history and all the things that have happened as the artist side and the working side and the contracting side.
Right.
And then, for me, again, the education, the mining out as much as I can is really important. So.
Right.
Well,
Love to come
I
back.
love this. You guys are great.
It
Yeah.
is fun.
Well,
Ah!
I'm okay.
Mediocre.
Ooh.
I gotta believe in myself.
You gotta
It's that
believe-
imposter syndrome. I'm waiting for people to tell me I'm
Right.
fake.
Yeah, you're a fraud.
I think I'm having a heart attack.
Wait till you get backstage.
It's just the diabetes.
Yeah, it's diabetes. Well, I see everyone worshiping Dorian. So, of course, I'm just like, the fame went to my head.
I know.
All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys very much
Thank
for
you.
One more question.
Right.
I did that. I think it was Greg filling games.
You did it every single podcast.
Greg Fillingham was a bad one. Yeah. It really was. He had a heart out.
Oh
And
no!
then-
Yeah, and there's
It's
like
better
one
than
more
that.
question.
Yeah, well, look. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot to know. There's a lot of questions.
Make a really dirty joke.
Yeah,
I heard
yeah,
it.
it was great.
I heard
That's only, yeah, it's a good
Greg
joke.
says that all
Yeah.
the time, but you know.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much. And
Dave, thank you for having us.
yeah,
Great.
it's
Thank
so
you.
great.
Thank you,
Yes.
Look
Thanks for
forward to
coming.
part 2.
Thank you.
I did the tip of the hat.
And Joe, thank you for
Being
being
you.
here. And Shannon, thank you. And
Yeah.
This is the longest goodbye. Shannon, goodbye.
Goodbye, Joe.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Naona.
Thank you, Naona.
Thank you,
Dorian.
Dorian.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah, Cody.
Thanks, Cody.
Thank you. Our studio audience.
Thanks
Yeah.
to also thanks to Blue Microphones, our sponsor,
Uh-huh.
and thanks to Vocalize You summer
And I
program
was looking
intensive
for a
coming up in
microphone
July.
sponsor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blue. Call me.
Yeah, we'll work that out for you. All right, and we're ending.
Goodbye.
We're out.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.